Very, very good evening, Jita.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm well. How are you, sir?
All good, boss. Thank you so much.
Perfect. So we're bang on at 4 o'clock. You
Yes,
want to
sir.
start off?
Hey,
'Cause I'm
Jagat,
going to
thank
be the talking, so I think
Okay, done deal. So, very good day to everyone. And thank you, Jagat, for putting this together on a pleasant Sunday afternoon in Bangalore.
yeah,
Okay, so it's create something that is very important, I think, for founders and startups. The pillars for 10x growth. And for a startup, this is the most critical thing because it's all good to have a great product and to have something that you're building because you love the passion and you have the ability to do it, but ultimately you want to make money. So I think, Jagat, what we're going to be talking today and what are the some of the tips and insights you're going to talk about, including how Vidphone can leverage this 10x startup growth. So let's go for it, Jagat. Over to you.
thank you, Vijay. Thank you so much, and very good evening to everybody who's here. So, in the beginning, let me just put some context into this one. This one is called the 8 pillars for 10x growth for startups. So what I'll do is I will quickly get onto a screen share. I'll just share my screen and let me kind of run you through what's in my mind, right? So this is the topic for today. We're talking about 8 pillars for 10x startup growth using Vidphone. So I'm just going to open up this mind map. So what we have done here is, you can look at the top at 12 o'clock, the very first, pillar. Then it goes clockwise. We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So there are 8 pillars for 10x startup growth. And what do we mean by 10x? I think most people understand this today. You are at X today. Let's say you're doing 1 rupee in revenue and you want to go 10 rupees. So that's 10x growth. And the whole idea is, of course, in the context of the pandemic and general business sentiment being very, very negative, I think it's very important that all startups, especially, have a very, very innovative way of looking at the world today. I think the customer, as I said, the previous episodes we have discussed about the remote customer. So I think this what we're going to have here is a very crisp kind of rundown of 8 pillars of 10x startup growth using Vidphone. So let's start with the very first one, right? So the very first one is what I call mission and goal. Now I think a startup exists because the founders have some mission, right? And unlike maybe a place where it's not a startup, maybe a larger company where maybe the employees are part of a probably a smaller part of the real big picture, right? And of course, there it becomes a lot more closed teams. But here as a startup founder, I think you establishing why you do what you do is very important, right? Why are you doing a startup? Why are you running a company? Why are you taking, for example, this risk? Or why are you not settling into a job? I think, and of course there are multiple answers to this. So of course I have been in business for a while now, and to me the simple reason was that I wanted to make sure that I'm spending my time in the best way possible that I felt, right? In my last work, my last job, of course there's always a case where there might be a case where you have mainly that monetary goal, right? I think that is a very big factor. I think just give me 1 second. Hmm. Right. If my screen is visible, can you just say yes? Anybody who's watching in the audience, can you just tell me yes if my screen is visible, or do you want me to share it again?
Jagat, just share it again, I think.
All right.
Yeah, please do that. Huh?
Thanks for that. Just a minute. Okay, is it visible now? My screen?
Yeah.
All
No,
right.
no,
Thank you so
no,
much.
it
Thanks for
went
that.
off again. No, Jagat, wait. Yeah, now it is. Now it is.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect.
All right. So, the very first thing is what I said, the mission and the goal, right? So I think this is very, very fundamental to a startup and a startup founder. Without a mission or a goal, I don't think there is any chance of success whatsoever. And let's kind of understand why, right? All through school, for example, or, there is always what I call negative motivation, right? So, for example, if you don't go to school, what happens, right? The teacher will complain to your parents. Or if you don't write an exam, you will fail, right? So, even when it goes into people's work life, and I was part of this, I was also in a job, in Bangalore, Hyderabad, and of course, sometimes when you don't go to office, there is always this problem of, hey, what happens? You may not get paid, and so there is always the systems, or the system is conditioned in a way that there is always negative motivation. So what I call negative motivation. The question should be, what good happens if I do this, right? And I think that's the whole thing about a startup. Here, you don't have, for example, a boss to tell you what to do, and you don't need to technically report to a boss. Then what keeps you going, right? Why do you do what you do every day on a periodic basis? So I think having this mission and goal is very, very important for startups. And I think many founders, of course, I've spent some time, I'm sure people in the audience as well, you may have friends who have started up, who are thinking of starting up, right? And there could be multiple reasons. One is that, okay, one is they don't like their boss, right? They don't like their job. Happens a lot. People get bored with their work life, and they're like, let's do something on our own. The second could be to make more money, for example, right? You might think, oh, look at all these businessmen, and look at all the tech billionaires out there, and why can't I be a billionaire, for example, right? Of course, let's not discuss how easy that is or whether that happens, but there could be various reasons. It could also be that you have a particular hobby that you want to pursue professionally, or various other things, right? So I think having this clear mission and a goal is fundamental, and this is the number one. In fact, 2, 3, 4, and till 8 will make no sense, or it will not apply to you at all if you don't have a clear mission and a goal. So the way I like to look at a mission, it's not about money, right? Let's make this very clear. In fact, a startup is probably the worst place to start making a lot of money, right? And anybody who's in business will tell you that. In the beginning, yes, you should not worry too much about, you're not going to be making what you made in your salary, for example, for a few months or a few years. So I think the way I look at it is, specifically for Vidphone and for me as Jagat, as CEO, for example, my mission or my goal is to empower 100,000 entrepreneurs or startup founders, here in India and around the world. This is my overarching vision or my mission that, enables me or gives me the framework to do what I do. Right? And I think having something like that is is kind of straightforward, right? You could always look at your target audience, because end of the day, you're always there to help people understand that. So even if you're doing software products, you have, I think, a user at the other end who has to be satisfied. And so that's, I think, critical, right? And sometimes when you build a startup, yes, there is all these numbers going on. You have unicorns, decacorns, all of this stuff that happens. But I think you should dream big, right? I think you don't do a startup just to, make $1 lakh a month or, 2 lakhs a month, 3 lakhs a month. You don't really do a startup to do that, right? You do a startup to obviously scale the business, have a annual ARR or MRR that's really high, $1 million plus ARR, for example. And I think having that goal or having a big dream is, I think, very important. Otherwise, of course, you should not be doing a startup, because a startup is not a smaller version of a big business, as Steve Blank says. For example, if I start a restaurant, it is not a startup, right? It's just a small business. A startup specifically is a technology company that is meant to scale exponentially with additional capital, right? This is the whole concept of startup. Of course, you have bootstrap startups, but typically most startups that we know always take the venture route and scale really fast. So having this big mission and goal, I think, is very important. Two main things there. I think you have to look at who you are, what you want to really do, right? And don't keep money as your mission. I think you will completely fail, because what happens when you don't make money, right? You have nothing that pushes you towards what you do. So you will just end up folding or quitting your startup. So money is, I think, a bad mission or a goal. It is the most important byproduct of a startup. A startup is also a business. And as you know, all businesses, the scorecard is revenue and profits, right? And I think nothing changes even for a startup. I think that comes as a byproduct. And the mission, one is that you look at your own internal skill sets. What can you contribute? Who do you want to help? and also probably, whether those people that you're helping actually have, for example, the money or the budget to pay you, right? That's very important. I can't go after children and expect children to pay me when they don't have money. Go after other markets where there may not be really any economic value, right? So these two main things: look at your skills, look at who you're helping, and I think this will fall in line. So this is very, very important. So dream big. For example, when you were a child, if somebody asks you what do you want to become, right? If somebody asked me, I would say I want to be Superman, right? I wouldn't say I want to be a startup entrepreneur or a mechanic or an engineer or something. You would say I want to be Superman. I want to be an elephant, right? Because you are naive, and I think that naivety sometimes is good because you come with a clean slate, aim big, and move forward. So I think the very first pillar for 10x startup growth is your mission and your goal. I'm sure as a startup you have it, but I think since the pandemic, a lot of startups and businesses, obviously, their business models have changed, which means that the outcomes and the goal also, probably is changing. And this should be very, very clear. So if anybody wakes you up, or for example, you know very clearly why you do what you do. And as I said, for me, the goal is to empower 100,000, startup founders with, video business models so that they're able to have, fascinating, differentiated businesses, doing what they love, right? So that's very important. The second pillar, I think, again, this is a soft pillar, and I call this persistence. I think nothing great is ever achieved without persistence. It is impossible, right? And I think persistence is one of those great question papers that, that really, that is the test for people who make it or break it. Many times you might find that success is just around that corner and you just stop just before the corner, right? So a lot of times we may feel that especially with the media and other, words going around, startups are, quick money, or, you can come in, make some quick money. Well, this is not true. If you look at a company like, for example, Facebook, which is not a startup now, it was a startup. Facebook started in 2004. So 2004, and now they're what they are. It's 16 years. You look at Google. Google was, 94, 96, I think, 96. And that's about, 24 years old. Google is 24 years old. And so when you look at any company and even if you look at a lot of Indian companies today, you look at a Zomato, or you look at Snapdeal, and you look at a lot of these other companies, Ola, for example, none of them are less than, 3, 4, 5 years old. And it takes that 7 to 10 years, I believe, to build a company, right? So that's very important. You need to have it in you to last 7 to 10 years. And I think a lot of people who are listening to this may be a little surprised because, and what we also hear is that many startups, they failed in the first year, or they tried it for 9 months, the business, it didn't work, or the second year they failed, third year. I think that is just too short term for running an institution or a company. What do you do in 4 years? You barely get an education degree, right? And I think you could look at a BCom, it's 3 years, a BTech is 4 years, medicine is longer. And you expect, I think, and do we expect that a company that's going to pay us for the rest of our life and take care of us and, add so much value into the world is going to be created in 3 or 4 years? I think that's far-fetched. So persistence is very, very important. And what persistence simply means is simply not giving up. And I think that is very, very fundamental to a startup founder. And I'm sure every single startup founder will tell you that persistence is what is the differentiator. It may not be talent, it may not be capital, it may not be the team, it may not even be luck. Okay, I believe that the biggest change, and it is persistence. So I think as every entrepreneur, when you're jumping into building a company, I'm sure many of you are really astute startup founders also with your own businesses. I'm sure that you would have planned at least a 7-year window realistically to have a reasonable outcome from your company, right? So these two, as I said, the 1 and 2 are kind of soft goals. These are not specifically to do with the Vidphone platform. These are, of course, about the founder and the founding team, the co-founders. They need to have very grounded mission and a goal. It has to be it has to be a big goal, because that's what really drives people. You can't keep a very small goal like, I'll make 10 lakhs a month or 10 lakhs a year, for example. I think these things are not really what you should be doing a startup for, right? I think that thing is clear. So have audacious goals. Don't have revenue goals specifically, but I think you should look at the number of customers, the impact, and have some metrics around that. And that'll really help, right? And the second, of course, as I said, is having persistence, where no matter what, that you are marching on and you are moving forward. I think that's very, very important. In a startup, I believe that you will have a lot of bad news. The guy you hired will not be good. You will be running out of capital. You will fail a deal. Your demo will not work. Your dog will die. You will have all kinds of issues when you're running a startup. And even you will have issues that you never thought about. Murphy's Law. I keep saying Murphy is like a great friend. And what's very important to understand is that the whole idea of startups is that you don't need to keep winning all the time. You can afford to lose a lot because you're learning a lot and you're building out your company. And there are few times where you can win, and that win should kind of cover up for what the time you made up and kind of sustain you for some time. And I think you work cyclically like that, right? Everybody, I think, works in a cycle. And I think understand that persistence is what's going to get you there, right? So I think these two, this is, I would say, 2 out of the 8 pillars. So 25% is completely about the founding team and about the founder's mindset and mentality. I think without that, you will not be able to go 10x, right? I think many of you would agree with me. Some of you may not, and feel free to post in the comments and tell me your views. I'm happy to discuss and kind of learn as well. So 25%, there's 1 and 2 is completely founding team and people specific, mission and goal and persistence. Now let's look at the third. All right, you have a mission and a goal, you have persistence, and you have some product or a service, typically a product that you want to sell now. And you have that nobody knows about your business, right? This is typically where a kind of business starts off. Of course, there are some cases where some people get customers before they have the product. I mean, if you're following the lean approach, I think that's wonderful. You're already on your way. But now, how do you reach out from, basically going from 0 to 1, right? How do you make that step from 0 to 1? This has always been a big challenge for every startup. I would say that the first million is the toughest million ever. And after that, of course, I think things get a lot easier. But I think today, when you look at how the whole COVID scenario has changed the concept of, selling, the concept of marketing, or, even customer support, today you have no in-person meetings at all. And really, there are no hoardings because there are not too many people on the streets. The number one way today of outreach, of basically telling the world or telling the external audience out there that, hey, here is who we are and this is what we do and this is why you should be engaging with us. Now, the best way to get this message out to tens of thousands and lakhs of people is through webinars and live streaming. I'm very sorry. Just give me a second. All right. Just a quick check. Am I audible again? Can someone tell me yes? Hello, is anybody there? Can you guys tell me if I'm audible? All right. Thank you so much, Akhil. Really appreciate that. And I hope you can see my screen as well. All right. Super. All right. Let's go to number 3. As I was saying, the most effective way today of reaching out to new audiences about your startup is through webinars and live streaming. Gone are the days when you would do, Facebook ads just for getting clicks, or, doing Google ads. All of these places are just too crowded today. Whatever might be your startup, you have larger competition and they are bidding for the same customers that you are bidding for. And that's basically a battle that you are, going out to lose from the beginning. I think what's very important is that you take control of your own content, you take control of your distribution, and the founder and the founding team starts doing webinars and live streaming. Now, there's been a lot of talk over the past 1 or 2 years with the rise of video, right? And this could be recorded video clips, video demos, But let me tell you what's changed. Today, people appreciate real, raw, live video more than they appreciate a video that you've spent a lot of money doing production, right? And I don't know how many of you agree with me on that. How many of you actually think that you would trust live video a lot more than you would trust or you would relate with a with a recorded video? I'd love to hear what you guys think. Which of these two actually you find more useful? But I think when you go live as a founder or as a team, or if you're sharing some content like what we are doing now, I think people there is nothing behind the screen. Things are very, very transparent and open. This is a very, very important step in what we are calling the trust economy today, right? One of the biggest challenges today with the coronavirus pandemic is that people cannot meet in person. And if you look at why people used to meet in person, it was that a lot of it to do with trust, right? It was really about, do I trust this person? So if I see you, if I see your office and I see your colleagues, we know that you're going to be there. And this basically gives comfort to the customers. Now, in this post-pandemic or corona period, when you're not able to see your customers, and your customers are not able to see you, they can't see your office, they can't see your team, how do they trust maybe a content piece or text blog post that you've written? And today I have this message out for every business actually. Your face is as important as your logo. And I think when you think about that, you realize why this face is so important. It humanizes your business, right? And a logo was always something that would it was always brand. Logo was one of the first things you associate with the brand. But today the brand is more and more about the founder and the people in the company. Because you might change the brand logo, or you can kind of change with the marketing to kind of suit audiences. But you know what? The founding team, the co-founders, it's a very low possibility that they're going to change, right? They're going to be there for a while. So if you really trust a business, you have to be trusting the founders and the co-founders. I think that's very, very important. So of course, webinars and live streaming have gone off the roof in the past 6 months. But the way we look at it, there are a couple of things that I think startups need to be doing differently to increase their outreach and to increase their outcomes. It's not enough just using a third-party software and doing webinars and getting the audience on their platform and actually giving them some content. That does not make the cut. What's very important is that one is that there has to be a no download experience for your potential customers and your viewers. The moment they see a link, they click there, and they should not be waiting for something to download and install this software, which I would say 95% or 99% of startups or of webinar platforms force you to download their application. I think that is a big no-no when you're trying to appeal to new customers, simply because you want to have least resistance. You want minimum friction. They click on a button, they come there, they input their name, email, and they're into your webinar. You don't want them to spend a minute, 2 minutes downloading the software, setting it up, and I think that's a big change. Another big thing that startup founders need to do is to be able to embed these webinars onto their own websites. Today, it is no more enough for you to go to a third-party platform and do it, because you are running xyz.com, for example. Now, you don't want your audience to go to the video conferencing company's platform. That's not where you're going to probably transact with them. You want them to come to your website because that is your digital home on the internet or your mobile app. And I think having this embedded webinars and live streaming is the single most disruptive feature that growth startups are actually beginning to use. It's extremely powerful because one is it reinforces your own brand. Now, when I come to xyz.com and I'm seeing this webinar happening inside, it automatically tells me that you're a very tech-savvy company, you understand technology, and you can have your own brand. So you reinforce your whole brand image with the customer. And of course, you can get them to make further inquiries. And I'll get to that in a bit. But what's very important is that you own your traffic. And I think that's something that many startup founders are not doing. And I think I'm not saying this simply because we run a video communications company, but I've always believed that your website and your mobile app is where you need to be driving all your traffic. Even if you have social, you have WhatsApp, you have email, all of them have to drive onto these two core properties. So that's number 3, webinars and live streaming. Of course, we can discuss a lot more about this and all the wonderful features, virtual backgrounds, blur backgrounds, screen sharing, recording, automatically, it streams to Facebook, YouTube, and other social platforms. So there is a ton of features that Vidphone actually offers that startup founders can begin to use immediately. And I think that's really, really powerful. So you should explore the platform to know more, or you can just drop me a mail, happy to engage. So now that you have done your webinar, and let's say that 50 people attended your webinar or your live stream. What's very important, the number 4, and this is something that Akhil, I think, is watching, and I think this is one of the most exciting things to come out in 2020. We're calling this VMail. This is video mail. Video mail is email on steroids. Just imagine the impact that email had on business. And the way I kind of portray this is, they say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So how many words is a video worth? So I think today we are living in a video first world. And this calls for asynchronous video communications. What do I mean by asynchronous video communications? It's something that is not synchronous, as many of you might know. You guys, I'm sure a lot of you are engineers and MBAs and other guys. Basically, asynchronous video communications is a lot like having like a video email. So when you look at video conferencing, it requires that both of us are present at the same time. And just give me a second. Akhil, can you just confirm if I'm there? I'm sorry, I just had a bit of a fluctuation. I'm just checking, or if any of the other viewers, let me just take a look. Sendil, Guru, Lagan, Uday. Great to have all of you guys here. Just give me a second, guys. All right, thanks, Akhil. Thank you so much. And again, a big shout out to everyone who's joined us. Uday Nadivade. Is that how I pronounce it? I'm sorry, Uday Nadivade. Lagan Saluja. How are you, Lagan? Nice to see you on this on the Vidphone Show. Guru as well. And Sendil Mahesh. Thanks a lot, guys, for coming. Thanks, Lagan. Thank you for your comments. So what I will do is I will get back to my screen share. And I will continue from where I stopped off. All right. So we're at VMail. Today, there's a lot of talk about how there is so much fatigue with Zoom. There is so much fatigue with video conferencing. Overall, the trend is that business has come down. The revenues have drastically gone down, but people are working more than they've ever worked. Now, this is ironic, and it shouldn't be this way, very, very simply put. Sitting on video conferences whole day, I don't think helps in any way, productivity or increasing revenue or profits. And being in a video conference is a lot like, I would say acting in a film, right? You have a camera on all the time. You're not trained, or we have not lived our life to kind of have a camera pointed to us and talk to a camera as a way of life. And I think that, combined with, of course, the heavy pressure that I think every business and every employee is under because of the coronavirus situation, I think people are, just not, I think efficiency has gone out of the window. People are doing a lot of work, but probably the outcomes are not there. And that's the big problem with video conferencing. And when you look at VMail gives you the benefits of video with also the benefits of email. So with email, I don't need to be online when you are online. And that's the beauty of Vmail. And that's why we call it asynchronous video messaging. So how it would work is, just like you compose an email, I would go ahead and record a simple video that's live. It's a live video, 10-second, 20-second clip, and I just send it out to you. And you look at it whenever you're free, and you can actually, if you're in front of a laptop or a Mac, you can actually screen share, show your presentations, go through your Excel sheets or your Keynote. And I think Vmail is the single biggest disruptive force today to get us out, to address the remote customer. And what is this Vmail actually there for? It is for your prospect list. So all of these people who come into your webinars, that you've done outreach and they've kind of come in, put their name, email, they're all coming into what you call your prospect list. And this is the most important kind of tool or the asset that you have. It is your email list and the phone numbers of the people who are potentially interested in what you do. I hope I'm making this very, very simple for startup founders. So the moment you do your webinars and you do your outreach, people are getting onto your webinar, they're inputting their name, their email, maybe their phone number. Again, you don't want to ask them too many things. You want to keep it very simple. Subsequently, you may engage with them and probably you can have more discussion on details. But the fourth step, the fourth pillar for 10x startup growth is to have a prospect list that is built from your webinars and that you are able to use Vmail with your prospect list. I hope that makes sense. If anybody out there want to give some views, who want to tell us some, help us out or ask some questions, I'm more than happy to address it. So please go ahead and feel free, right? Now that you've got your prospect list out there, and these are not yet your customers, but these are people who have probably attended one or two webinars and they probably are interested or they have a need based around which you're building your business. The fifth pillar that we call is called video appointments and meetings. Of course, today, as you know, video conferencing has become the norm. Video conferencing and webinars have effectively become, the way of doing business, the new way of doing business, which is what, Vidphone we were talking about even last year, well before the pandemic. We were talking about this new way of doing business powered by video appointments and meetings and webinars and live streaming. So what is the difference between a video conference, for example, a video meeting and a video appointment? So the way we say it is, a video meeting, of course, is probably what you do on a lot of platforms. But there is a big problem when you look at comparing it to the standard business communication, which is, for example, phone or email. One of the main things about a phone number or an email address is that you have it's a permanent ID, it's a permanent number. And it's what we call cross-operable or interoperable. If you're on Gmail, I can send you a mail from Zoho. If you're on Airtel, I can call you from Vodafone, right? But the thing with video conferencing is that, number one, you don't have this unique, beautiful video identity online. And the second is that you need to be you need to download the same application that the receiver or the other person has. This is extremely limiting. This is as good as saying that a person on Zoho Mail can only send a mail to Zoho mailboxes. And an Airtel customer can only call another Airtel phone. That severely limits the ubiquitousness and the growth of video communications. So at Vidphone, we have a revolutionary concept, which is actually not that revolutionary, but I think what's important is to bring the simplicity of the Vidphone ID. For example, my Vidphone ID is vidphone.me/Jagat. You just have to go on the browser and you can instantly video call me, voice call me, or you can book an appointment with me on my scheduler. So you don't need to download any application. You can call me from any browser and I'm happy to have a chat. This is very, very important because now when external customers want to talk to you, they need a specific video address to be able to contact you. They're not necessarily going to be on the apps that probably need a download because they may have a different app compared to what you use. So the easiest thing to do is what we call the secure by design browser-based Vidphone ID. This could be your own ID. It could be a personal or it could be a brand. So you could have vidphone.me/Jagat, or you can have vidphone.me/XYZ company. And this becomes your video home on the internet. The moment you create a Vidphone ID, the moment I come to Vidphone and I create an ID, there are 3 unique IDs being created parallelly. One is my webinar ID, which is what we call the TV module. It's vidphone.me/Jagat/TV or /XYZ company/TV. The second is that we have a conferencing room, a designated permanent conferencing room for you, which is vidphone.me/rooms/Jagat, or whatever might be your ID. There is no running, putting meeting codes, no putting passwords after meeting codes, no downloading apps, none of that stuff. Everybody have their own personal video communication rooms, their own TV channel, their own webinar platform, and their own appointment scheduling. And the moment you have this, today I just tell people, I'll see you in my room, which is vidphone.me/rooms/Jagat. And if an external person wants to contact me, he goes to vidphone.me/Jagat and he books my time. Immediately, both of us get video links, and at the scheduled time, we're having a conversation. So this, I think, is a very, very important component: video appointments and meetings. So as I said, and many of you may have actually used, let's say, a tool like Calendly, right? And Calendly is very useful because you don't want to do emails to and fro trying to schedule a time. But the problem with Calendly, and specifically Calendly, is that you have to use another video conferencing solution with that. You have to use Zoom or Google Meet. At Vidphone, we give you all of that under one roof. It's Calendly plus the video conferencing in one place. And I think that is a big, big benefit for a lot of people. Another very, very important thing that we have is also what we call the Vidphone widget. Now, the Vidphone widget is something that I'm sure a lot of you have. For example, a chat widget on your website, right? And if you're doing SaaS, that small, it could be Fresh Chat or Intercom, but you do text chat. But today, text chat doesn't make the cut. As it is, you're a SaaS business, the trust element is low. The best thing that you can do is when a customer is interested and he wants to talk to you, then he clicks a button and he's able to start a video chat instantly from your website. And so the Vidphone ID, rooms, and widgets are all the tools you need for having successful video appointments and meetings. And these are extremely elegant. You can actually put them down in your card, just like you put your email address, you put your Vidphone ID. And anybody can, and trust me, when people actually connect with you on video, you have a 50 to 60% more chance of actually closing deals than a phone conversation. So I hope that's very, very clear. We have video appointments and meetings, which is the 5th pillar for 10x startup growth using Vidphone. I just want to take a minute here, just to check that everything's good. And if anyone have some comments, thanks, Lagan. Yeah, that's great. Any comments? Happy to engage, right? Please feel free to stop me and ask me. Raise your hand. I'll enable the raise hand as well. I'll make this super interactive if you want, so you can pop in and ask me questions. Okay. So now let's get to the next one. So the 5th is the video appointments and meetings. And now we come to the 6th. Let's get this straight. Today's top applications are all about the users communicating with each other. Think about that for a second. Today, use a WhatsApp, or you may use, a Facebook, or you may use a Hike or a Telegram. Now, the user-to-user connect is what builds user retention, and also enormous, it increases the time spent on your application by a long way. Yes, today you have a situation where a lot of people are dependent on 3 or 4 companies for video conferencing. Of course, Vidphone, Zoom, you have Google Meet, you have Microsoft Teams. To some extent, you have WebEx as well. I think in the consumer, the kind of mass market solutions. But my belief is that very, very soon, every website and every mobile app will be voice and video enabled. Let me give you a couple of examples. Let's say you're a dating app. You're like Tinder. It is or a Bharat matrimony. Right? Very, very quickly, once the resumes or the what's it called, the horoscopes are matched or there is interest, you can schedule a video chat and you can actually go forward. I know a couple of companies who have started this, and that's a great step ahead. So you would have video integrated deeply into any application. Let's say it's a CRM. With one click, you can video chat with your customers also. Or let's say you're an e-commerce site. With one click, you can connect with your seller. You can buyer and seller connects in video. There is very high trust. And in fact, that's a great business use case because you have the opportunity to upsell. The moment he has trust and you have sold him a product, an e-commerce site may think, hey, what goes great with this is also this. So the sixth pillar is what we call the SDKs and integrations. This is basically video enabling your own technologies, be it web or mobile, or it could even be IoT, it could be a watch, right? So I think going forward, if startups really need to have high engagement and high virality, like a WhatsApp or like other consumer apps, you need to be integrating video and voice. There's no excuse not to do it. Let's say you have a sales tool where you're monitoring your sales folks. Of course, you got to have video integrated there. So you're seeing your salesperson, he's there, you quickly call him, video chat, and then you can actually move forward. So the sixth is what we call the SDK and integrations. I think this is a huge differentiator for every startup who's on the Vidphone plan. And we're very, very happy that, to provide, and I'm very proud to say this, that we provide a very, very high level of support to our customers. We understand that different technologies, you may have PHP or you may have, Django, Python on web. You may have, native Java, React, Cordova on Android, Swift, Objective-C or Reactive, etc. on iOS. And it could get messy, but you have nothing to worry about. The Vidphone team is always there to kind of help you and to do our best to ensure that you have a very, very smooth experience. So that's the number 6, SDKs and integrations. Now I'll go to the last 2, which I think are very, very important. The 7th is what I call counsel with mentors and the community. They say that man is a social animal. So are companies. Companies are extremely social beings. And you cannot run a company in isolation, right? Where there are no people, there is no company. In fact, I say many times that I take the word company very, very literally. It's literally, and especially in a technology business like ours, it is literally the people that you're sitting with and building the company with. So every startup founder and every startup, and again, we are very, very delighted and happy to support all the startups with respect to the mentoring and the community aspect. We have, of course, a large network of associates, friends, well-wishers, who are all, who are doing brilliantly, and they have so much of experience. We are, really, and I'm sure they as well are very, very delighted to work with startups, to mentor startups, give advice, look at course corrections, and maybe many other ways of engaging. Right? So I would say every startup and every startup founder, because you need somebody to kind of, ask you some tough questions as well. Because as a startup founder, sometimes, well, you only look in the mirror. And I think it's very important to have this counsel with mentors and the community. Again, both are quite different. Mentors are people that, of course, you are, probably walk the road a lot more than you have. And they can avoid a lot of, novice kind of naive mistakes that you may be making that you can simply avoid, right? So that's on the mentor side. And of course, various things like fundraising, customer access, helping you with recruits, etc. But I think more importantly is your own community. the change that's happened, I believe, is that today selling process happens after you have created the value. In the olden days, I would say that, before you bought something, you had to pay the money and then you could experience the value. But today's world has kind of leveled out, right? And really, people want to see if there is some value, and then maybe they're willing to pay a lot more once they have validated that and have confidence. So I think the community has to be built. Not, you just don't look at the webinars as an acquisition tool, but your community is this. They also engage with you after they are your customers, where you're taking feedback from them, supporting them, and helping them with their own business models, right? And at Vidphone, we are really happy to say that we work with all of our partners and our customers, even after they have signed up. So we don't always say that, yes, of course, we're a product, but it doesn't end there, right? The secret sauce of Vidphone is that we offer tremendous customer service. And this is not something that I'm saying. I'm very happy to kind of reflect a lot of positive feedback that many of our customers have told us. And we are very, very grateful to that. So counsel with the mentors and the community. How would you do this? Again, you have two big tools in Vidphone: the video appointments and meetings, and you have the webinars and live streaming. You can also do email. You can just send a note to your mentors. Typically, mentors are people who might be a lot more busier than you are, possible. And they may not always have the time to get on a long call with you. But just shoot out an email, send them an update. Previously they were sending out an email with some notes. Today you can actually just talk, share your screen, send out a 3-minute update to your mentors and your community as well. Do webinars, customer advocacy, teach, kind of give them more and more value as they engage more with you, right? I think that's how a relationship's really built. That's the 7th point: counsel with mentors and community. And the 8th, which is my favorite: none of this would make any sense if you had to do this every day again and again and again, right? You really want to put your business into automation, and you want to have clear systemization of a lot of these processes. That's when I believe that you're running a technology first startup or a company, right? And feel free to disagree with me. Of course, there is, I would also quote Paul Graham, who said, do things that don't scale. I think that's right, but that is in the beginning stages. Then your whole effort is, how do I systemize this? How do I automate this? How do I not keep doing the same thing with every customer? That's the idea of a product. The idea of a product is that you build once and you ship many times, as opposed to services where you obviously are catering to every customer very, very specifically. Automation and systemization does not happen magically. Automation is almost a dark. It's like one of these black arts. Very, very complicated. You have to bring your entire business model into one kind of structure based on the algorithms, how you actually want the flow to happen, the retargeting, where are they getting acquired from, where are your landing pages, and then what percentage actually go to your webinars, what comes to second webinar. There is a tremendous amount of data that needs to be kind of analyzed and reported. And also I would say that very, very soon at Vidphone, our focus is going to be purely on automation and systemization for our customers. And we call this God mode, right, for your startup. Put your startup on God mode. So as a founder or a founding team, basically you're opening up your dashboard and you're just seeing how much did I, for example, spend on ads or spend on outreach, and what is my ROI from that. So this is the high level that you will actually see your master dashboard. And I work with a dashboard that's very similar. I work with a dashboard that gives me exactly all the information that I want, and it's updated in real time, right? So we built a custom dashboard, obviously. And of course, we have other tools as well to track it, but I would say this is the most important piece for a product company where you would go to the next level. The moment you're able to automate and systemize the whole customer acquisition, the conversion, and the retention process, and you're able to have your customers as brand, as your evangelists, that they're going out and talking to their friends saying that, hey, XYZ is a great company and a great product. You are doing a lot of things right, my friend. So that was today's session. It's 4:50 now. Let me very quickly quickly try and sum up, and then we will be open for some Q&A, and we can sign off. The 8 pillars for 10x startup growth. Now, we're not kidding here, right? So this is not, we know the word 10x being used very liberally, right? But let's say that with our history as a company, we have worked with organizations, some of the largest on the planet. And, our work has always been about transformative, turnkey kind of digital digital solutions. And there are many, many cases where not 10x, we have delivered 20x, 30x return or growth, in certain verticals. It could be incident management, it could be property management solutions for the largest, commercial real estate company in the world. It could be, the digital strategy for the world's largest political party. It could be, the digital strategy for India's largest media house. It could be for, various other companies, right? And so what's critical is that we are talking this out of experience, and we have tried to simplify this as much as possible. I don't want to throw in a lot of, click funnels and a lot of algo that kind of, will really disappoint you, and you'll get confused. And we want to keep this very simple. Vidphone is all about simplicity. You click a link and you go inside. You press off and you're out, right? And most other video conferencing, even after you go off, you actually are not off. So that's, I think, a big difference in the way that things happen. So 8 pillars of 10x startup growth using Vidphone. The number one, our recommendation or our suggestion to all our partners and our customers and fellow startup founders and startups, have a very clear mission, a very clear goal. And by this, we mean not just a revenue target or a customer, revenue target, but be very specific on your customer persona, who you are trying to help, and how many of them you want to help in how much, in a duration. That would kind of set a high level anchor for you to kind of run the business. And it would give you a kind of, something to stand on when everything else also has failed, right? You have your mission and your goal, and that's your guiding light. The second is persistence. Persistence pays. There is no two ways about this. Understand that, startups are not about 2 or 3 year lifespans, 2 or 3 year life cycle. Startups are companies, 7, 10, 20 years, 100 years, right? We have to think long term, and persistence means never giving up. So as a startup, you will go through multiple failures, your product, your customers, your investors, your team, yourself, right? But persistence is very, very important. And one of the things that I learned, a mantra for me, is no means next one. N-O, no, means next one. I've always treated it this way. And it makes my life very, very simple, right? We do what we do and we move on. The third, the main outreach mechanism for you to reach new audiences. You have a product that you want to actually distribute, but you don't have a customer, don't have audiences to talk to. I never ever suggest cold calling people. Nobody has the time. The average rates are something like 1 out of 297 cold calls actually work. And I wouldn't, recommend that waste of time at all. The single thing you should be doing as a startup founder is doing webinars, educating your potential customers, giving them as much value even before they actually pay you a rupee. This is the new normal, guys. And trust me on it, it's going to work like a charm. Webinars and live streaming, of course, webinars are when you have, let's say, a more formal scenario where, you have a presentation or a mind map. And in the case of live streaming, this is more about, the personality behind the team, right, or the company. It's the founder, it's the co-founders, it's what they do together. It may be a customer, right? And live streaming is very, very important because it's basically like them walking into your office, seeing you in your natural state, right? And I think that's what really builds trust and rapport with your potential customers as well. The fourth, and I must say this, first in the world today, I believe, with the entire video mail that we are launching, really, really excited. And I must congratulate Akhil on doing such a fantastic job in building out Vmail, very first of its kind, built right here in India. Very, very proud it is built here in India as well. Vmail is asynchronous video communications. First time in the history of the world, I guess, where you have the benefits of a video chat, where you have the non-verbal clues and the personal rapport, along with the asynchronous nature of email, where you don't need to be online at the same time that the other person is online. And this is, I think, very, very important. It changes the whole scenario of fatigue or video conferencing fatigue caused by a lot of companies, including Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, and the rest. Right. So Vmail goes hand in hand with your prospect list. So the webinars and live streaming is the way that you actually get emails, get contacts, and the phone numbers. You can always send them a Vmail, send them a note. A thank you note, for example, would be great to get started. It was great to have you on our webinar, and would love to hear about your business and kind of see what's possible. So Vmail and prospect list is number 4. Number 5, the video appointments and meetings. I think people are spending majority of their working time on video conferencing. And of course, video conferencing, video meetings are the next best thing to actually being there. So what we would say is that video meetings and conferences are not going anywhere. They may only become more. But with the rise of Vmail, we see the need for video conferences to reduce, because there can be asynchronous video messages going, and the story can build up in a much more relaxed way, much like you would have people doing their own thing in the day, right? So video appointments and meetings, we have a wonderful appointment scheduler as well that's built into Vidphone. So you don't need to use a separate calendar scheduling tool and a separate video conferencing tool. You can just use Vidphone. You have vidphone.me/yourname. People can come schedule, they see your calendar, they can schedule a time with you. And then you both get unique links, and at that time you connect on a video conference, right? And have a meeting just like you're having an in-person meeting. So number 5, video appointments and meetings. Number 6, SDK and the integrations. Now SDK means software development kit, and the integrations. What this means basically is that very, very soon, every application will have voice and video communications built into it. And the simple reason is that users love engagement on video and voice. And I've given you some examples. It could be a dating app where, for example, in the dating scenario, you have both of them connect on a video chat. It could be a marriage, prospective marriage hookup. The bride and the bridegroom potential are on video chat. It could be a doctor and a patient. It could be a teacher and a student. It could be a shopkeeper and a customer. Every transaction has the potential to happen right within that platform without going to any other link with the Vidphone SDK and the integrations. As I said, we offer very, very high level of support to all our customers at no extra cost, of course, because we want you to have a wonderful business, and we want to make sure that your customers have a great time using your app. So SDKs and integrations, number 6. Number 7, one of my favorite things, counsel with mentors and the community. I think all of us are students at some level of people like Eric Ries, Steve Blank, Alexander Osterwalder. One of the most important things is that when you build a software product company, you have to build it iteratively. It is not a 0-1 game, right? And that is very, very important. And a lot of times this feedback release cycles is what makes the game for every large company and every successful company. So always engage with your mentors to give you some advice and to have some hard checks on you if needed. And with your community. And our community we call Vidphone Universe. So Vidphone Universe consists of all our customers, partners, associates, investors, team, and extended teams, right? So we call it Vidphone Universe, and we are really excited about the quality of the Vidphone Universe. So all of you must have your own communities if you're having a startup. And the last and the most important and the icing on the cake is what I call, automation and systemization. You as a startup should focus purely on what more value can I deliver to more customers. I think everything else should take a back seat. And as much as you automate, all of the processes like your accounting, compliances, email, transactional emails, meetings, automate as much as possible and systemize the whole thing. This is the 8 pillars for 10x startup growth using Vidphone, guys. Thank you so much. It's been exactly half an hour. It's 5 o'clock. I'm really happy to share this with you guys. And you can always tell me what did you feel, your thoughts, and I'm happy to take Q&A. Vijeta, thank you so much. Mr. Unable to hear you for some reason. Hello? We'll just get Vijeta back. So Sendil, all right, thanks Sendil. Connectivity is fine. Thank you so much for joining in.
Jagat, am I
Yeah.
audible? Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Hey, thanks. Yeah, I think everything is good. So just to understand, Jagat, first of all, thank you so much for all these resources that you're building for customers. It's always good to see the progress that Vidphone is doing. I'm happy that you're a member of TIE, and there are so many things that we can do. So one of the questions, you're saying that Vmail is there, okay? So how video mail that we're talking about? So have you got anyone who's done some beta testing, alpha testing, any results that have come out, any best practices that they should use? Because content also makes a difference. It's not just that you have the product and you use your service, but is there some way that they can make it really, classy?
That's a wonderful question. Absolutely. It's like how, we started off with video conferences with any background, and today we need blurred backgrounds, virtual backgrounds. Things evolve. Right now, to be honest with you, we have a very, very close circle that's testing it, because it's extremely early stages. We are still, but I think the way it's looking, I am really excited about Vmail, because look, Vijay, I mean, it is no secret that the video conferencing companies are causing so much fatigue. It is unbelievable. We have never seen employees or people so stressed out ever, right? I mean, do you agree with me then?
That there are challenges, but then unfortunately, there's nothing much that you can do about it, isn't it?
Exactly. So the whole thing is because we need to focus more on efficiency as opposed to, let's say, attendance, right? And that's how we were in office. If you look at, no one, you're not always in a conversation with five people around a round table. Right? You're sitting at your desk, you're doing your thing. You might send an asynchronous message, and they might respond to it, right? So Vmail is early stages. Of course, we build completely on first principles. We don't have a specific frame of reference product, just like when we started Vidphone or other things. So we build on first principles. But my thing is that I think in the next 1 week we will be having, of course, this will be out on the platform to select users, and of course the beta testing also is going on.
Okay, great. And I think there's a question from Lagan also. I mean, of course, you did mention that it is beta testing is going on. He was saying ultimately, can you use it on, as an Android, iOS, or iOS product, or how does it work? Is it, how do you use it?
So we have, SDKs for web, Android, and iOS. Depending on what you use, I mean, whether it's native Java. I mean, Lagan, if you're there, you could probably tell me what is the platform. Whether it's hybrid like React, we have solutions for all of them, right? So anyone who's on our platform can just schedule a call with us. We can do a quick analysis, and the deployment is also very, very quick. Within a day, I think you should have it up and running. Less than that.
Yeah. All right, great. I think that's what really matters, man. That's so awesome.
Okay.
And Jagat, also the other question is that just to cover the community services that's going on, Startup Sunday, and then this League of Extraordinary Startups. So what can we expect? I think we are doing something today evening as well with a couple of founders, isn't it?
Yes, I think. Look, we have a big mission right now. I'm not saying this because we're just doing this webinar in front of you. We discuss this all the time. Nothing changes. It only gets, I think, more and more important that we are, kind of adding as much value as we can to the ecosystem, right? We don't have control how many people are going to come and actually listen to us, how many are going to participate. And honestly, it really doesn't matter. What matters to us is that how are we engaging with our community? We are always open for ideas. And the good thing about us, I think, is that, we go from idea to finished product in a day, right? And correct. That's, I think, very important. Very, very happy to see, LXS, I must talk of League of Extraordinary Startups, 24 episodes. We did that because I heard from I'm also at NASCOM 10K, and of course, we are in touch with Ty as well. And I know from the ecosystem that a lot of startup founders are having a really hard time right now. It's, I don't think they signed up for this when they started their company maybe a year ago, 2 years ago. This was, people put a kind of risk analysis, you have PEST, for example, and I'm sure there was no C there. No one planned for a corona issue. But so I did this purely out of love for founding companies, startups. And of course, I'm not saying that it's a one-way street, right? We're not here just giving value. We're happy to learn from others as well. And that's the way it is. LXS, purely for putting the founders in the spotlight, because, salute to the founder spirit. I think that's very important, right? And that's why we do this. And that's why they are extraordinary. It's a league of extraordinary startups. And second, Startup Sunday, which we are doing today, 6:30. We have Annapurna, who's running a company called Mentorbox. And I think today there is a need for mentors more than ever before, because the conventional opportunities have dried up. We need to create new opportunities. And creating opportunities only happens with knowledge. You can't do it without knowledge. So I think mentors have a very big role. And I think Annapurna, she's there. And we also have Anup Verma. Anup, of course, I think I would love you to give a small intro on it.
He's a hotelier. He's been in Taj Hotels. Now he's a startup himself. He's someone who's running a restaurant, and also he's brought in a lot of new things into that game, which we'll know about in the evening. Of course, all the entrepreneurs who are in the food business, food tech and other things, they are going through a certain set of challenges, Jagat, because of what's happening. But that's what the discussion could be. That can be, crowdsource, outsource, figure out some solutions for the various challenges that any entrepreneur is facing, especially in a very required restaurant food business. So let's see how it goes. Jagat, there's a question from Uday. I don't know if we covered this or not. If a B2C company can use your product.
Oh, yes. I mean, I spoke of Tinder. I spoke of Jeevan Sathi. I mean, not Jeevan Sathi, but marriage. So, Uday, if you're there, would love to get you on raise hand and let's chat quickly. I mean, I would love to know what your business is about and how you could do it. Are you there, Uday? Can you tell us a yes, no? And if you are there, raise your hand. It would be great to have you up. Vijita, I mean, of course, you're the host, so I'm sorry. Your roof,
it's enabled. The raise hand is enabled.
I don't know. If it comes in, it would be a lot easier to get some context to that. But of course, B2C companies, whether you're a social network, whether you're an e-commerce site, you're a dating app, I don't know, what else are there, B2C? Swiggy, for example, probably a hotel ordering is not the best solution. But most cases, it works. Even if I look at a healthcare app, education app, all of them, video is at the center for the next 5 years.
Fantastic. So as we see, it is good things that are happening.
Oh,
yeah, great. Jagat, I think it's 5:10, so don't want to take up more of your time. As always, you're doing so much for the community. And yes, as a founder, I know that you want to grow. You want to get more and more customers. So all the very best with that as well, my friend. Okay.
Absolutely. And go.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, please continue, Jagat.
No, absolutely. It's not only about, as I said, revenue for us is, of course, as a business, you're in the game of revenue. But to me, honestly, what gives me a kick is to see other startup founders succeed. I've done that for the past 10 years. And whether it's not a startup founder, whether it's a director of a large company who's in charge of a vertical, or whether it's, other stakeholders who we're talking to, or startup founders as well, right? When they can really grow their business and you have a small role to play in that, I think that's like everything to me.
Yeah. The last few weeks we have been catching up and talking to some very interesting folks, like Shesh from Beehive Workspace, a co-working space. Then we have had Subbu Rao from Discover Dollar, who's been working with a lot of large companies and helping them to save so much of money. And then we have had people like Priyank Jain from Bhopal, who's running his own co-working space and also helping other co-working space and enterprises. So very interesting bunch of folks, diverse industries from all over the country. And yes, of course, it feels good, energized to.
I must again. I always, it's very, very. I love doing this, right? I think you're doing such a fantastic job, and more power to us, right? I think
absolutely.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, I hope you're enjoying what you do, and I really enjoy what we're doing. I know it's Sunday, and we're just mavericks doing 2 webinars on Sundays. Look at us. I mean, we are, I think, doing something good for the ecosystem. We can do this on a weekday, right? We're doing it on Sunday. So, guys who are watching, yeah.
Yeah. So please do, there's a shout out Startup Sunday happening at 6:30 today, which Jagat was talking about on the Vidphone platform, and also supported with Thai Bangalore. Just getting entrepreneurs and founders together, exchanging notes. I mean, it's not that we know all the answers. Like Jagat himself would say that there are so many challenges that he's facing at Vidphone, but together as founders, we come together, we share about insights, learnings, and what could be probable solutions, what could be challenges, we learn. And with that, Jagat, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And let's tune back 6:30 p.m. today.
All right. And hopefully all the audience as well, guys who are watching, come back at 6:30. We have some really interesting things going on as well.
Awesome.
Thanks, and thanks to the audience. Thank you so much, guys. And I hope it was useful.
Take care. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers, Jagat. Cheers, man.